What's happening, and happy holidays. Last day before the long weekend for many of us, including your boy. But boy, what a week it's been. Fresh off a $240 million extension, Jaren Jackson Jr. got bit by the injury bug. So I'm bringing in the doctor, Rusty Whitten, to give us a proper diagnosis. Plus, a new Grizzly joins the den. I link up with Cleveland sports anchor Nick Camino about what the Grizzlies are getting in new guard Ty Jerome. It's Independence Day Eve, and the 24th floor starts right now. Joining me on the show today, it is Rusty Whitten, host of the 2 Bucks Sports Show on Bluff City Media, focusing on the Grizzlies. You can catch him Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right? Sure. So, you watch him on Monday at 11, and then you come right over here to this show. What's happening, Rusty? How are you? And what's your 4th of July looking like? Because we know Independence Day is coming. You're going to be by the pool. What's up?
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me, Avery. I'm doing good. My plans actually started last night. I went and saw Jurassic Park in theaters. Definitely recommend.
Summer blockbuster? What you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Could have had more dinosaur time, but it was a great kickoff to the summer. But my plans this weekend are not a lot. On Sunday, I'm going to pressure wash a little bit. The nerd in me is excited about that. Just that, kind of that repetitive motion.
Seeing it being so
unfold,
clean, right as it's done. Yeah. That's one of those oddly satisfying things
you
see on social media.
I'm super stoked about it, honestly.
For sure. We got to talk about the dress code here because if y'all watch the show, y'all know I like to get down when it comes to these suits and everything. I appreciate the details.
Yeah.
So talk to me about this handkerchief that I see. You can't see it. Give me Rusty's one shot on 5. Look at that. You can pull it out. You can show him.
Got a little Ja Morant Memphis Grizzlies pocket square. It was a giveaway probably like Ja's rookie year at one of the door prizes you get for going to Grizz games. I've had this thing forever. I wear it anytime I wear this blue suit. I also have a gray suit with some blue stitching it lines up well with. And so my girlfriend and I were picking out outfits because I saw you dressed snazzy. So I had to show up a little bit.
I do my best.
So we put this in there and I was like, I got to wear Ja, man. Got to.
For sure. Again, huge Grizzlies fan, host of the 2 Bucks Sports Show. But we're bringing him in here because you are a doctor of physical therapy. So we're going to jump right into our big idea for the day, and that's Jaren Jackson Jr.'s injury. The team announcing Tuesday night Jaren Jackson Jr. has turf toe on his right foot after hurting it playing basketball away from the Grizzlies facility. That's the bad news. The worst news is that he needed surgery, which was successful, but he won't be reevaluated for at least 12 weeks. Keep in mind, Grizzlies are already missing big man Zach Edey to start the year. So, Rusty, I know we see the injury and immediately all Grizzlies fans were like, oh no, not again, right? Because we saw this with Vince and Gigi just last season. But what exactly is turf toe and how does it affect the body?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's me. I'm Grizzlies fans. When I got the notification, right, I would have a meltdown in the kitchen. It was just like, are you kidding me? Yeah. This is why we can't have nice things. But then my rational brain kind of took over. So what turf toe is you got a joint, just like in your first finger here, where your toe articulates with the foot. It's called your MTP in layman's terms. It's a big old $10 word there, but we'll leave that alone. And basically, he has stressed that joint to the point of injury. And so it happens a lot of times with push off, so runners, basketball players. You see it a lot in football players. It first came about in the 80s and 90s when most football fields were turf, right? And so it's a strain on the joint where
it wasn't really turf. It was like
concrete with sandpaper,
concrete.
Exactly. Yeah. And so basically what you do is you either tear the ligaments that's around that joint or the actual joint capsule that holds that joint together, keeping the pressure appropriate and the synovial fluid in there so it moves well. And so when you tear that, you ultimately have to have surgery. You can just strain it and avoid it, but Jaren's was bad enough that they had to go in and repair whatever was going on. So he's going to be non-weight bearing for the next probably 4 to 6 weeks, and we're looking at probably at least a 3 to 4 month turnaround before he's back on the court. Now he'll do some basketball activities in there, but probably 3 or 4 months before he's back.
I mean, if you had to kind of describe what the pain would look like for that, I mean, you're talking about him being non-load bearing. It's almost like you can't even put pressure on that toe.
At all. Yeah, so when I first heard about it as a kid, Deion Sanders had it a lot when I was growing up, and I was like, he just stubbed his toe. Like just soft is what it is.
Yeah,
just kidding, Deion, if you're watching. Totally kidding. But it's pretty excruciating, right? Because every time you take a step, you dorsiflex that toe, and you kind of put weight on that joint, and that's going to hurt a lot. And so they're going to stabilize it inside of a boot to where it'll hold and it won't do that motion anymore. And that'll allow it to heal, and then he can start putting weight on it down the road.
So as he kind of continues in his recovery journey, what does, I guess, the physical therapy of it look like? What will he start doing to kind of maybe ramp up as you get into more of that 9 to 12 week kind of range.
For sure. So after he gets through just like your normal progression, like you and I would do, just some strengthening of that foot, we're going to start some agility drills because he's a high-level athlete. He's one of the best players in the NBA, probably top 20, top 25 players. So he's going to be working with the best trainers, the best mobility experts, trying to get some proprioception is what it's called, like learning where that foot and toe is in space and how to use it. And so he's going to be doing a ton of jumps, jump rope, lateral shuttles, box jumps, starting to add in some of those plyometrics, getting ready for basketball before we even start like one-on-air or one-on-one type activity. So it's just going to be a lot of learning how to land on that foot again and how to control yourself to keep yourself from re-injuring it.
Okay, and so when we initially saw this and we saw that Jaren was going to be hurt, I immediately am like, all right, I need to bring somebody on the show to explain what the heck turf toe actually means, right? But you were right on the money with your show before the Grizzlies came out and said it about what the recovery time looked like at 12 weeks. So I got to give you your props.
Appreciate it.
And if you watch, the $2 Buck Sports Show, he would have gave you that info. You would have been ready, right? So we got to talk about the other big man for the Grizzlies, and that is Zach Edey. He will also be missing to start the year a severe ankle sprain. We know he had ankle issues last season in the summertime as well before he even started his rookie year. The Grizzlies mentioned they were trying to, quote, address laxity, I think that's how you say that word, in his ankle and restabilize it. Laxity is a big word for Elmo. What does that mean exactly when they say they're trying to address that specifically?
Laxity is another word for looseness. And so in your ankle, there's a specific ligament on the outside, on that outside bone called your ATFL. Again, we'll shorten the $10 word. The ATFL is what's commonly injured in ankle sprains, and so it can get stretched out, and like a rubber band over time, as it gets stretched out, it doesn't, you can't put Humpty Dumpty back together again.
Kind of trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube.
That's it, exactly.
Okay.
So they probably went in and did one of two things. If it was just stretched, you can tighten it back up through some sutures and anchors, which they're going to be ultra conservative with that because it's the same ligament that they just anchored down to try and make it a little bit stronger. So the risk of injury is a bit higher, especially early on. Now, they could have done an allograft where they pulled some tendons from around it, or an autograft where they did like cadaver. It just depends on the severity. The most likely one is that they just tightened the ligament that was there, and so we're going to protect that thing for a while. So I think Zach Edey might be out a little bit longer than Jaren, if I had to guess. But it's a common procedure with people who have just that stubborn looseness or laxity in their ankle.
Yeah, and the Grizzlies didn't really give an update on when Zach would be back. It just said he'll likely miss the beginning of the season. And so, I mean, with 12 weeks, a reevaluation period for Jaren, he could potentially be there, maybe miss the first week or two of the season. It seems like Zach maybe a little bit longer, maybe in the closer to the December time range. When you see a guy as big as Zach Edey who's hurt his ankle multiple times, so severe in this case that he needs surgery, what kind of pressure is he putting on his feet, his ankles, as a guy who is 7'4", 300+ pounds?
I mean, absolutely. Like, you think back of all the great post players in the NBA, right? Like, Yao Ming had foot problems. Joel Embiid has had ankle and knee and foot problems. Like, it's a common thing in big people. Like, my co-host Drew likes to say, like, people that big aren't meant to run and play this kind of a sport. He's wrong. I mean, Zach Edey does pretty well. But, it's going to be a lot more pressure on that ankle. And we saw him roll it in Summer League. We saw him roll it during the season. Like, it was becoming a thing. And honestly, Avery, I'm surprised they waited this long to tighten it up just because of the investment they made in him, right? Getting him picking up the 9th overall pick and building so much of our offense now under new coach Tomas Isolo around the pick and roll that Zach Edey is going to be prevalent in. I'm surprised they waited that long, but again, he rolled it again this summer, and they decided to go ahead and do it, which I think is the right call.
I'll let you give your doctor's opinion, your doctor's diagnosis. I'll let you put your sports hat on now.
Yeah.
When you look at what the Grizzlies have in the front court, what do they do here to start the beginning of the year?
Yeah, so Brandon Clark will be there. I think BC is on track to be back, and I love Brandon Clark. I stand for Brandon Clark pretty hard because he just plays winning basketball. Right. If you look at our 2- and 3-man rotations or lineups that are the most winning of all time, Brandon Clark's in most of them. He just does the little things well. Problem is he can't compete with the Jokic and the bigger centers that we're going to face, right? And so Jay Huff certainly can't. If Jay Huff doesn't make his first 2 threes off the bench, you might as well sit him down. He can be a spectator. Love Jay Huff, but
doesn't rebound great for somebody who is 7 foot, 2 inches tall.
Exactly. So there are some names out there. You can get Precious Achiuwa, former Memphis Tiger, on a vet man. I would like that. But honestly, I would like to see Zach Kleiman take a swing. Go after a guy like a Jared Allen. Call Cleveland, make him say no. Because we've got space. We're over the salary cap, but we're a ways away from the luxury tax. And we can help them offload some salary, so why not take a swing? Then you got a guy that you can build around with John Jaren, and then you can make some other guys expendable to create some flexibility down the road. I hope ZK takes a swing.
Okay, so as we kind of return back to the injury question, this round of the playoffs was especially plagued by Achilles injuries. We saw it Tyrese Halliburton, Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum as well with the Boston Celtics all suffering in the playoffs, which felt really weird for it all to happen kind of at the same time. But why do you think that is, and what actually causes an Achilles tear?
Yeah, great question. So, yes, it does feel like it's more prevalent now. NBA players are actually covering about 9% more territory during games than they were 10 or 15 years ago. So it's a lot more wear and tear on the Achilles tendon. And if you go back and watch the videos of all three of them, they do what's called a false step, first step. So they're in an athletic position, they're loaded and ready to go, and instead of just making that first quick step, their foot actually goes back. And that puts an unexpected increased load on the Achilles tendon, what's called an eccentric load, or you're loading it while it's lengthening, and that's a recipe for disasters with tendons. And so if you watch, especially Tyrese Halliburton's, he landed in an awkward position and then tried to push off, and that's what caused that rupture. So it's a bad habit. I remember my high school football coach was trying to coach me out of it because I was like playing some receiver and stuff, and that first step is bad on your Achilles, and it also slows you down. And so we see that false step a lot. Again, guys are covering more ground. You know, there is an argument there that they play a lot more basketball than they used to, but I'm not going to sit here and say let's shorten it as a fan, especially not. But I think if we can start coaching that false step out and then focusing on footwear, making sure you've got a good heel cushion and a heel bed to support that heel, I think that'll go a long way.
And it's interesting you bring up the footwear, right? Because we see a lot more in the NBA, really all across the levels of basketball. Players love their low-top sneakers, right? We see it with John Morant, who just is working on his Ja 3 release right now. In Jason Tatum's case, I mean, he wears kind of a mid-top. I think Damian Lillard is kind of somewhere in between a mid and a low. And Tyrese is a low, kind of a true low. What do as you look at their shoes and you look at their footwear, what do you think? Do you think that kind of played a part in their specific injuries? I know it's hard to say without having, being able to see it all, like up close and personal.
Maybe a little. Shoe wear is going to help more with what's called medial lateral movement, and so that's going to help support or prevent ankle sprains because that's what happens, right? You turn your ankle in and out. It's hard to use a shoe to support up and down movements, so you want to make sure you got enough cushion and have what's called a heel drop. So meaning like your heel is here, is kind of elevated. It puts you in a naturally plantar flex position or like toes pointed down. And that naturally shortens the Achilles and the calf, which puts it in an optimal position to jump, run, land, and absorb shock. And it lengthens or shortens that Achilles tendon to where there's not as much pressure on it when you're trying to push off. And so as long as you've got a good heel drop, that's about all you can really do with footwear outside of just some good heel cushion to protect, help with that shock absorption.
Right, and you're looking at specifically these three stars, two of them being guards, where you're leaning a lot more on your quickness, your agility. Jason Tatum is kind of similar, but he's more of a bigger body, a little bit slower. Do you think that you can return to form in terms of your quickness and agility when you have an Achilles tear? I know Tyrese Halliburton is obviously younger than Damian Lillard is, but what do you think in your opinion?
I do. I think so. KD did it. He's not quite the same player that he once was.
But he's
yeah, right. I get it.
Come on.
I get it.
That's
He's
the
KD,
Slim
right?
Reaper, bro.
But I get it, man. Easy money sniper. No, I get it, man. And so, I mean, they can. Basketball is so much more explosive now than it was 10 or 15 years ago. You get a lot more of like the hezzies, the start and stops, those drastic slowdowns. And so I do anticipate it will like minimize his ability to do some of that. I think he'll be able to make a full recovery. I don't know that he'll be quite the same quickness that he once was. But then again, Adrian Peterson, former NFL running back, came back from an Achilles tear in 6 months and was better than he was before. Sure. So it can happen. These guys are pros. They condition their body. And with all the advancements we've made in sports nutrition and sports medicine, there's a possibility for 100% recovery, but it's just hard with a major injury like an Achilles tear.
Talking to Rusty Whitten of the 2 Bucks Sports Show. You can catch it on Bluff City Media, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Anything you want to add before we let you roll up out of here?
Man, listen, it's been a great summer already. Zach Kleiman came out swinging for free agency, right? In the first hour, we had Jaren, we had Santi, we had Ty Jerome. So I'm excited for your segment coming out of this. But be patient, right? Be patient with the Grizzlies. It's a long off season. The trade deadline's not till February 2026. We've got a long run time before this team is going to be complete, so don't rush it. Be patient. I think ZK's got something cooking.
Patience is a virtue. It looks like the Grizzlies might have taken a little bit of a step back to take some steps forward here. Maybe a year or two, we'll just have to see. Rusty, appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, we are still talking about the Grizzlies. Ty Jerome, again, the newest addition to the roster. But what does his old city have to say about him? We'll get into it next.
On weather impact alert days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with ABC 24 and 24 Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on 24 Plus. The 24 Plus TV app. Streaming 24/7 local news from the team you trust on your time.
Rain showers through the day today, and we're starting.
Track how the weather will impact your day.
Rain coming in tonight into tomorrow.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news, live from the scene. Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. 24 Plus, complete coverage of your local news, weather, and more.
Here comes our first batch of rain.
Some severe thunderstorms and even several tornado warnings.
I think the bigger issue is going to be the wind gusts. So you start getting some branches knocked around. You could definitely see some power outages today. Those storms could pack a punch.
It's not just the thunderstorms, it's the fact that this low pressure is so strong.
How big that storm system was.
On weather impact alert days, stream extended coverage on 24 Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. When news breaks, watch 24 Plus. See the story as it's happening. Be on the scene faster than ever before. Live updates from the team you trust. Stream breaking news on 24 Plus. Download free on your TV now.
Morant and Kool-Aid announced a collaboration on his Ja 2s, the Ja 2 Kool-Aid colorway, also known as the Mixed Berries colorway. Morant gifted pairs of that colorway to the Jet Academy at the Nike EYBL AAU tournament at the Memphis Sports and Events Center this weekend. But they are not the only ones. Drew Hill was also gifted a pair of Ja 2 Mixed Berries. The Grizzlies have done a lot of signing their own players to start the free agency, but the one new addition comes to us via the Cleveland Cavaliers. Ty Jerome, the newest Grizzlies, signed at 3 years, $28 million. I asked Nick Camino of our sister station WKYC in Cleveland about just what the Grizzlies are getting in Jerome. Hanging out with Nick Camino over there at WKYC, our sister station under the Tegna umbrella. Nick, how goes it, man? I know you guys are kind of standing pat here a little bit in free agency, but is Cleveland still feeling pretty good after that playoff run?
First of all, Avery, I had to show you how beautiful Cleveland is. That's why I did this outside, because I know, it's probably not as nice of weather down in Memphis, but hey, we do okay here in the summer. But no, yeah. Listen, it was a great year for the Cavaliers, 64 wins. They had that first seed in the Eastern Conference, but as you know, they fell short of their ultimate goal, which I truly believe was an NBA championship. And when you kind of saw the way things were falling, where the Knicks took care of the Celtics, and if the Cavs just could have beaten the Indiana Pacers, I think they really felt like they had an opportunity to make a run at this thing. But they run into a hot team, as you know. Indiana got hot at the right time, and it was a tough way for a 10. But I still feel like they think they are still in prime position to not only be one of the best teams in the East, but to still win an NBA championship.
Okay, so you guys bring in a Lonzo Ball, trade out Isaac Okoro, which I feel like most Cavs fans are probably okay with. But you guys also lose a bit of a depth piece in Ty Jerome, who's coming to the Grizzlies 3 years, $28 million, the reported number. A lot of Grizzlies fans kind of feel like this is a steal in terms of the amount of money that they thought Ty was going to kind of command in free agency. Kind of tell me from your perspective, do you agree with that? And what are the Grizzlies getting in a Ty Jerome?
Yeah, I think when you see the money now that's being shelled out all across the NBA, I mean, $28.5 million is almost seems like a bargain over 3 years. So, so the money aside, I think it's a nice pickup. It's going to add depth. You have depth for, right behind Ja Morant or whoever might be playing at the guards. And he's a nice player. I mean, he's that gritty, tough type of player that comes off the bench, and he was a finalist for the Sixth Man of the Year award. Had a great playoff game against the Miami Heat. I know that the downside on him was he did disappear a little bit in that Pacers series, but I think a lot of those guys did. So really made a name for himself, averaged over 12 points per game last season. Really felt comfortable with Donovan Mitchell, who was an AAU teammate of him. They kind of grew up together. But I think now he's got some extra confidence after what he did last season, and I really think he's going to help the Grizzlies. Here in Cleveland, we talk about playing with that grit and that toughness. nobody does that better, I feel like, than the Memphis Grizzlies. So I feel like he's going to fit in nicely down there.
When you kind of look at what his jump was from year 1 to year 2 in Cleveland, what do you kind of attribute that to? What do you think made that jump possible for him?
I think just kind of knowing his role. Not to throw JB Bickerstaff under the bunch. I think he did under the bus. He did a great job here and did a great job in Detroit. But I do think this new coaching staff with Kenny Atkinson and some of the assistant coaches, they kind of brought him out of his shell a little bit. I just think he was able to kind of be more of the player that he maybe was at Virginia, where he won a national championship in college. So, kind of just having that extra confidence. And now that he's done it at a high level in Cleveland, I think you're going to get the best of Ty Jerome in Memphis.
Yeah, I think when you kind of look at what the Grizzlies have been looking for, you are kind of wondering, okay, they get rid of a Desmond Bane. He has, that's a 20 points per game scorer, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. You're kind of wondering who steps into that role. And obviously they get back a Kentavious Caldwell-Pope as kind of maybe their de facto 2. You're looking at a Ty Jerome and you're kind of wondering, like, is he in that starter tier? And I don't think the Grizzlies are going to ask him to necessarily be that. But if he can come in with that second unit and with a Scottie Pippen Jr., who is kind of going to be that primary point guard, I think, be a shot creator of his own. A lot of people are looking at him as like in that same range of money that Luke Kennard was commanding, right? But if you look at Ty Jerome's skill set, he is much more of a shot creator than what Luke Kennard is. Would you kind of agree with that assessment?
Yeah, I think he would fit nicely with that second room. Now, I think he could play with Morant a little bit because he played with Donovan Mitchell, and I kind of, I see some similarities there. But you're right. I think coming off the bench, with that second unit with Pippen Jr., who did I thought a great job for the Grizzlies over the last part of the season. I think that he could really fit in nicely on that second unit. He's got a great floater, and I know the analytics people are kind of against the floater shot, but he makes it go for himself. He can create his own shot, but he also can get other guys, into the offense and can make the guys around him better. So he's one of those guys you look at. It's like, don't judge a book by its cover. You know what I mean, Avery? You kind of look at him, you're like, can this guy ball?
Sure.
And he can. He can. And he's got a little attitude to him, too. So I think he'll fit in nicely.
When you, as you've had a chance to kind of be around the Cavaliers organization and around the team, what have you kind of noticed about Ty Jerome in the locker room, Ty Jerome, the teammate, that you can kind of share with Grizzlies fans who may not be familiar?
Yeah, I think his teammates respect him, and they respect his journey. He was a first-round pick by the Philadelphia 76ers, but after that, he kind of bounced around, couldn't really find a home in the NBA. The Cavaliers actually got him from the Golden State Warriors, but he wasn't playing much. Cleveland is really where I feel like he grew up and was able to blossom. And a big part of that was, I think, him feeling comfortable in an NBA locker room, being friends with the star player on the team. But now that he's going to a different organization, I think he can implement some of what he brought here in Cleveland. Just being a more confident young man. He's 27 years old now, and I just think that you're getting a more grown, mature player, dare I say, veteran that can help the Grizzlies.
Where do you think the Cavaliers go from here now that you understand that you guys are kind of bumping your heads up against that second apron a little bit, right? What moves do you foresee the Cavs still particularly needing to make or could make? I know LeBron James is kind of floating around there in the ether. Is that going to be a thing for y'all again?
Well, I got to tell you, I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to, and I thought you thought I would be crazy. The safe choice would be run back their core four with Mobley, Allen, Mitchell, and Garland, and just bring back what you did. You won 64 games with those guys. You were the top seed in the Eastern Conference, and you're a title contender. You're one of the best teams in the NBA. Saying all of that, there is the big elephant in the room that is LeBron James, and the fact that there could be a scenario if you wanted to come back here. You look at how tough the West is. You see it firsthand. I think in the Eastern Conference, he would have a little bit of an easier route to the finals. You look at the Celtics being banged up now. They're going to be a changing team a little bit. The Pacers are dealing with some injuries with Halliburton. So if that becomes a realistic scenario, and I don't know that it is, but if it does, then the Cavs will look different, because if you're going to get a LeBron, you would have to give up a Jared Allen, a Darius Garland. You would have to give up some major parts. I think the Cavs want to hold on to Mobley. They'd obviously want to hold on to Mitchell and make it work with LeBron and some other pieces. But you would lose a big part of that core four if that was going to become a realistic situation.
All right. Well, we'll have to see what the Grizzlies continue to do. See what the Cavs continue to do. Two teams that kind of feel like they are in that probably different tiers of contender status right now. But Nick, I really appreciate it, man. You guys do excellent work out there at WKYC in Cleveland, and maybe we'll see you at the top sometime next year or two.
Avery, it was a lot of fun, buddy.
Well, coming up, university athletic departments can now pay student athletes directly, a major shift in college athletics. We introduce you to the former college swimmer who got everybody paid.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with ABC 24 and 24 Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on 24 Plus. The 24 Plus TV app, streaming 24/7 local news from the team you trust on your time.
Rain showers through the day today, and we're starting.
Track how the weather will impact your day.
Rain coming in tonight into tomorrow.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news, live from the scene. Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. 24 Plus, complete coverage of your local news, weather, and more.
Here comes our first batch of rain.
Some severe thunderstorms and even several tornado warnings.
I think the bigger issue is going to be the wind gusts. So you start getting some branches knocked around. You could definitely see some power outages today. Those storms could pack a punch.
It's not just the thunderstorms, it's the fact that this low pressure is so strong.
How big that storm system was.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on 24 Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. When news breaks, watch 24 Plus. See the story as it's happening. Be on the scene faster than ever before. Live updates from the team you trust. Stream breaking news on 24 Plus. Download free on your TV now.
Welcome back to the 24th floor. On June the 6th, the House versus NCAA settlement was approved and went into effect this week. The settlement allows direct payments from institutions to student athletes and back pay to former athletes. But who is House in House versus NCAA? Jake Garcia in Phoenix introduces us to the nexus of a major change in college athletics.
Thank you, Max.
A splash in Arizona is sending a ripple. And after a tireless 5-year stretch where he split time between laps and lawsuits, a former ASU swimmer can finally come up for air.
Ooh, I'm Grant House, and that's swimming fast.
It's a quick breath, but it doubles as a sigh of relief. Grant House is hardly a household name.
I mean, I've had people very close to me that just found out that it was like your house.
But his impact is about to touch all corners of the country.
I set out to give opportunities, resources, autonomy, give athletes a better seat at the table, a bigger voice.
House versus the NCAA. Grant was the lead plaintiff, a class action where he sought compensation for athletes who competed before the age of NIL, more scholarships for current athletes, and most importantly, a share of the revenue.
I think everyone forgets the games don't happen without the athletes, and so I think they should get a bigger piece of the pie.
The settlement secured a few weeks ago. Today it takes effect.
I hope everyone understands that this was for a positive change, a positive foresight and vision into the future of college sports.
But Grant will be the first to admit not everyone has understood. Not everyone agrees. The attacks hit close to home.
Different coaches coming up to me at meets, different swimmers that I'd never met before. Basically every social media platform I have just being inundated daily with 50 to 100 messages of you're ruining college sports, you're ruining the sport, thanks for ruining swimming.
Critics say the new $20 million commitment will cause athletic departments to cut. Olympic sports could be the first to go unless athletic directors find a way to balance the budget.
I like collecting gray hair, so that's become a new hobby of mine.
ASU AD Graham Rossini said he feels some pressure, but he also made a promise.
You're seeing tough decisions being made across the country where programs are being cut or eliminated. Some sports that historically have had scholarships no longer have scholarships because schools are giving that to football or baseball or other sports. We're trying to do the opposite.
He's doubling down on Olympic sports, giving more scholarships to Olympic sports. That's the effort and intention that every school needs to be mimicking.
For Grant, the existence of his Olympic sport at ASU is now allowing him to pursue his Olympic dreams. He's training for the LA Games in 2028. Strokes that once felt set against a current now have a tailwind.
These aren't all the answers. If it stops here, that's not the goal. It's a catapult forward.
Waves in the desert might be rare, but the tides in Tempe.
Thank you, Max.
soon to be felt on this campus and beyond.
Just constantly every day believing this is what will eventually be better for athletes overall.
At ASU, Jake Garcia, 12 Sports.
Now, that settlement allows institutions to share up to $20.5 million in revenue with students. Memphis doesn't expect to be quite at that number, but Memphis Athletic Director Dr. Ed Scott said he expects Memphis to be competitive as a group of 6 school. What he'd really like to see is some enforcement on the NCAA's side.
We are going to comply, and we're going to do everything the right way. My hope is that there's some consistent enforcement, and if there is, I think that puts a school like Memphis in a better position because we have some support more than others do, and I think that will allow us to compete. It's been the wild, wild west for a little while with no guardrails, and so these are loose guardrails, and my hope is that it'll stabilize us and create some consistency.
News for Tigers basketball, Penny Hardaway is adding another big man in Simon Majok out of South Sudan. When I say big, I mean real big, 7'1". Majok has spent the last 3 years in a Serbian developmental league. In 7 games last year, averaged 17 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks. And we just learned this within the past hour. Memphis and Vanderbilt are bringing the rivalry back. The Tigers just announced a home-and-home series with the Commodores. Game 1 is at FedEx Forum on December 17th, and then Memphis heads to Nashville the next season. These two don't meet very often, but when they do, man, it's a battle. Vandy leads the all-time series by 1 game, but the Tigers have won the last 4. Both teams are coming off strong seasons, and this matchup adds even more excitement to the schedule. Coming up, it's the best thing I saw this week, and it is courtesy of Memphis Grizzlies' very own Ja Morant. Stick around.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with ABC 24 and 24+. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on 24+. The 24+ TV app. Streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust on your time.
Rain showers through the day today, and we're starting.
Track how the weather will impact your day.
Rain coming in tonight into tomorrow.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news, live from the scene. Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. 24+. Complete coverage of your local news, weather, and more.
Here comes our first batch of rain.
Some severe thunderstorms and even several tornado warnings.
I think the bigger issue is going to be the wind gusts. So you start getting some branches knocked around. You could definitely see some power outages today. Those storms could pack a punch.
It's not just the thunderstorms, it's the fact that this low pressure is so strong.
That's how big that storm system was.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on 24+. Download on your TV and watch for free. When news breaks, watch 24+. See the story as it's happening. Be on the scene, faster than ever before. Live updates from the team you trust. Stream breaking news on 24+. Download free on your TV now.
The best thing I saw this week, a new ad for the Nike Ja 3s. Morant putting the world on notice that he's putting them on a Make Them Watch tour with tour dates at Nike Peach Jam in Georgia, New York City, and overseas in China, Tokyo, and Manila. It sounds to me like 12 plans to put everyone on notice that he plans to return to form in the 2025-26 season. And the punchline of the ad is perfect. We got pigeon problems again. All I'll say is, if you know, you know. That'll do it for this thrilling Thursday. Thanks, as always, to producer Richard Denson and Leanna Davis for their help on the ones and twos. Happy holidays. Stay safe out there. We are back on Monday for more. But until then, I will see you